Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Michele Burklund. I'm the Chief Science Officer here at Puriya, and this is our Living Well series where we interview amazing people in the wellness field every week. And this week we have Summer Kramer, who is the founder of an amazing clothing line, SummerSkin, a PharmD, and a cancer survivor. So welcome, Summer. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, no, this is wonderful. Thanks for taking the time.
So I will let our viewers get to know you a little better and read your background first so everybody can kind of understand your passion and how you ended up where you are today.
Great.
So the SummerSkin journey began in 2007 when founder Summer Kramer was diagnosed with melanoma on her lower left leg. Fortunately, she caught the cancerous mole very early, but it changed her life forever. Following the surgery and at her dermatologist's recommendation, Summer rolled down her sleeves and started an exhaustive search for fun, stylish, and sun-protective clothing. To her dismay, all she could find were clothes that were either specifically designed for an outdoor activity like running, surfing, or styles that targeted an older demographic. What she wanted was stylish apparel that would protect her skin from harmful UV rays while still maintaining a sense of versatility and expression. Something she could feel confident wearing to a picnic or an outdoor function or just walking around the city. And just like that, the idea for SummerSkin was born. Being diagnosed with melanoma at the young age of 26, Summer found herself in the position of limited UPF apparel options, and thus being forced to choose between her health and style. So now, almost 12 years later, Summer is the mother of an amazing 7-year-old daughter who considers sunscreen her makeup, which is awesome, and proudly gets ready with her every morning. She reminds her every day about how precious we all are, and her motto in life and business is to follow the path of happiness. Find your people, your style, your passion, and embrace them with all your heart. It's a very amazing story.
Well read. Thank you.
Very nice. So I'll start with the first question, which is for you to tell us more about your journey and how you changed paths from a PharmD, a doctor of pharmacy, to a clothing designer from your experience with melanoma. So tell us more about this.
Well, I always joke that at some point I'm going to write a book and I'm going to call it From Pharmacy to Fashion. And to be clear too, I still am working as a pharmacist as well, mainly just to stay connected to the healthcare industry as well. And I'm passionate about it. I mean, that's where I started my career. And I actually was diagnosed when I was 26. I was diagnosed while still in pharmacy school.
Wow. So, yeah. Very young.
Yeah. And it changed my life. And so if you look at it, obviously I'm going to totally give away my age, but I was 26 in 2007. And in 2007, the sun protective clothing market was very small. There was not a lot of different brands, not a lot of styles out there. And it was really limited to either safari gear, flappy hats, zip off pants, fly fishing vests, which are fantastic for those activities. But I don't go on safari or fly fish. So it was a little odd to have those types of styles just for my everyday life. So it really did start from that basic need, right? I needed something that I could wear outside and it didn't make me completely give up my own personal style just because I got melanoma. And especially as a young age, I mean, 26, I still cared what I was wearing and what, and how I look. I mean, I shouldn't say still. I care now, but at 26, you really care. Mm-hmm. And so we started out initially just looking at, I'm like, I need maxi dresses, I need tops, I need easy, comfortable things that I can just still have a style in. So we officially launched in 2013. I started the company in 2011 while on maternity leave.
Wow.
Because that's what you do when you go on maternity leave.
You just start everything.
Yeah. And my daughter, I need to update my bio because my daughter is now 8. But, small things. But I started on maternity leave, but I spent a good 2 years doing R&D on fabrics because a big piece for me is I wanted to make sure that we weren't chemically treating our fabrics in order to make them sun protective. And I didn't even know at the time if that was possible. And everything I saw in the market was either chemically treated or heavily synthetic fibers. And so I spent 2 years testing hundreds of different blends and different types of fabrics before I even launched or before I even came up with a style, because I wanted to make sure it was even possible. So I got diagnosed in 2007, finished pharmacy school, got pregnant, had my daughter, then started all the research and development. And then we launched in 2013. So we've been around for 6 years.
Yeah, you've been around for, and it's great that you have that background so you can understand the chemicals and what you want and what you don't want on your body too.
Yeah, absolutely. It is really important.
So this is a lot of this I felt like I was learning when I was first introduced to your company about like the fabric and the weave and all these amazing things. So first, can you tell us more about UPF? Or what's called the ultra protection factor, and the difference. I love this on your website too, when you compared like a regular white t-shirt and then one of your fabrics as well.
Right. Well, and this is something, these are questions that we get all the time. So for one, most people have heard of SPF for sunscreen. 99% of people have not heard of a UPF for fabric. It's the same principle, right? It's the same. So if you go out and get a sunscreen that's an SPF of 50, if you see a garment that's a UPF of 50, same principle, same level of protection. It's just that FTC requires that textiles and apparel are labeled as a UPF instead of an SPF. And SPF is sun protection factor, and UPF is ultraviolet protection factor. It's labeling. Same principle. So, and the reason we do that comparison of the white cotton t-shirt to our SummerSkin fabrics is I, like many people, when I was growing up, I was not very educated about sun protection. And so for me, I'd be out on vacation or out and I'm like, I don't want to reapply my sunscreen. I'm just going to put on my white cotton t-shirt that I brought, put it over my bathing suit, and then I'll be fine. And then better yet, I'd even say, okay, well, I still don't want to put on sunscreen. So I'll just get in the pool with my t-shirt on and thinking that I'm fine. And so we did that comparison because I believe it was the Skin Cancer Foundation or even the American Academy of Dermatology did some testing to show that white cotton t-shirts, on average, a standard white cotton t-shirt has a UPF of only 5 to 7. So you think about that. I mean, the equivalent of getting a sunscreen with a SPF of 5, why even bother, right? I don't even know if they sell that.
Right.
And then on top of that, if you get that white cotton t-shirt, if you get it wet, it lowers the SPF from 5 down to essentially 1 or 0. So you'll effectively have very, very little, if any, protection at all. So, and I did not know that. I really was clueless when it came to that. And so the SummerSkin fabrics, all of our fabrics are a UPF of 50 plus, which is the highest rating you can give it. And that standard, that UPF 50, similar with an SPF 50 of sunscreen, is going to block 98% of UV rays. So there's a big discrepancy too when you start to look at like a UPF or SPF of 5, you're going to block, at most, you're going to block 80% of the rays. And you're going to block almost 100% if you're using a SPF or UPF 50 plus. So the other question, and I'm just going to keep going on this topic.
Go for it, yes.
The other question I get all the time, and I actually love when I get this question because so many people don't know this, is why do I not tan through my clothes? So everyone has this misconception that all clothing is sun protected because you don't get a tan, right? And now,
yeah, that's very interesting.
I get it all the time. And people always look at me like, ha, I got you with this question. Like I'm not going to have an answer to it. And I love when I get this question. And the main reason is I didn't know any of this prior to starting the company, but from the sun, the Earth sees 3 types of UV rays: UVA, UVB, and UVC. UVC rays are really detrimental, but the atmosphere filters them out before they even affect us. So we're really only humans are only affected by UVA and UVB rays. UVB rays are shorter than UVA rays. So UVB rays are blocked by glass. So windows block UVB rays, clothing will block UVB rays, but UVA rays are longer and they are not blocked by the clothing or windows, standard things that we feel protected behind. And the really interesting thing about this is that only UVB rays, those shorter rays that don't penetrate clothes, that's the only UV ray that actually creates the tanning process. So our body's natural warning sign that we've had too much sun. UVA rays do not produce any tanning effect. However, they produce the same level of DNA damage in our skin when they hit our skin. So through that white cotton t-shirt, you might get a tan line. You might get that lovely like t-shirt farmer tan line there. But you're still getting the UVA ray sun damage through that clothing. And so that's a big piece. I think it was in the late 90s, I believe, is when the FTC and the FDA required that sunscreens redo all their formulation to be broad spectrum against UVA and UVB. Because prior to that, they were only protecting against UVB rays, so blocking that tanning process, but not blocking the UVA ray damage. So, sorry, that's like on my platform. I get really excited about it.
No, I know. I had no idea either. And so it's like UVA is that sneaky one that can cause the damage and you have no idea that it's doing it at any time. That's
exactly
very scary. I had no idea.
No, I know. I really didn't either. And a great way to kind of remember it is that UVA is for aging and UVB is for burning. So they're both creating damage. They're both creating DNA damage. They're both creating signs of aging. But that UVA ray, they are like the sneaky ones because they don't give you a warning sign.
Is there one that's worse than the other, or are they both cause damage at the same rate?
I mean, yes. Again, it's a level of exposure, right? Mm-hmm. And if you think about it too, they are UV radiation. So they are radiation rays. And I think one thing that happens with this too is people tend to think, oh, well, it's the sun rays. And it is sun rays and it's lovely and warm and we love sun rays, but sun rays are actually UV radiation rays. So if we put it in that context, you could see how excessive exposure can lead to cellular damage and DNA damage that produces those signs of aging and potentially skin cancer.
Right. Well, I think that's very good to know. That's very good to tell our viewers too, because there's so many little things like that. Like I figured if I wasn't getting a tan, then I was okay, that I was covered.
You're
so
okay.
That's very helpful. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'll jump into the next question here.
Okay.
This is more about fabrics too. I think that most people don't really know that much about the importance of fabric and when choosing fabrics that protects the skin. And I noticed that you have amazing fabric line called Made in the Shade, which I think is brilliant. And I love how you talk about different trees and everything that everything provides 50 plus, which we just talked about. So tell us more about your fabrics and the different trees and everything. Tell me all about that.
Well, and all of that kind of hit us. For one, I like to rhyme. So I love the concept, though, of creating natural shade, creating a physical barrier to the sun rather than relying on either chemical sunscreens or chemical treatments to fabric. So this concept of, where do we run? And if we're outside at a park, where do we run to get shade or get out of the rain? We run under a tree. So we wanted to create that kind of at least the naming and the whole style really around that natural kind of physical barrier to sun. And the piece of that too is because we don't chemically treat, we try to work with natural fibers as much as we can. Now, natural fibers in general are lovely. Linen is wonderful to wear in the summer, and in the sun, cotton feels really great to wear. It's really difficult to make those fibers sun protective because they're natural and they're really bulky. So it's difficult to get a tight knit or weave to the fabric. And so what we do is we take the natural fibers as much as we can and we blend it in with finer fibers. So tencel or bamboo rayons, spandex. We try to create the right blend so that we can get a high enough UPF, but also feels really nice and breathable and wearable all summer because Denim is cotton, and it's sun protective. Denim, straight up denim jacket is sun protective. But when it's 95, you don't want to wear your denim jacket or a parka. It has to be a good balance, right? Of something that is sun protective, but also you enjoy putting on and you will wear it and it's comfortable. So that's kind of that concept of the made for shade, is really that idea of that natural physical barrier. How do we achieve that? And how do we get there without having to add chemicals and keeping that light, nice, natural, airy feel for the summer?
I love that. I know, and I have some of your clothes. I need to get more. I need to go check out the newest collection, but they feel amazing. It's like they're light. They're perfect for the sun too. They don't feel like you're wearing a huge amount. So you've definitely found that balance. And
thank you. And for me too is I'm all about comfort in my style. If I can find a way to look stylish in my pajamas, I'm going to find a way to make that happen. And so I think a lot of it too is we're always trying to find fabrics that are incredibly soft to the touch and that you want to wear, whether it's warm or whether it's cold, or, that you just want to wear year round. That's a big goal.
Yeah, I love that. So I'll jump on to the next question, since we're talking all about fabric. And this one is, from what I understand, the tightness of the weave and then the color of the fabric also plays a role in sun protection. So tell us more about that, about the different weaves and then the colors too.
Yep. So obviously there's two types of fabrics. There's the woven fabrics and then there's knit fabrics. So knit fabrics are like your jersey, t-shirt fabrics, stretchy fabrics, legging fabrics. Woven, like this dress I have on here is a woven fabric, shirting fabric. And they're two different styles of fabric, but they do have a different knit or weave to them. And it's important for us to know that as we go in and we look for fabrics, or develop our own fabrics as well. Because a big piece of that is if you have a bulky fiber, like I have tried to make hemp sun protective. I have tried and tried and tried, and I can't make it sun protective, but I have a goal that I'm going to get there one of these days. Because it's a really bulky fiber in itself, so the individual threads are really bulky. It's difficult to get a tight knit, still keep the fabric feeling. An example I give a lot is you can get cotton or linen or hemp. You could get those to be sun protective, but they would have to be so tightly woven or knit together that it starts to feel like sofa fabric, just like upholstery fabric. Yeah. And that is not comfortable, and people are not going to want to.
That's tough. That's
right. Tough. And so they do play a huge role. And so if you think about it, for some reason, my brain goes into like this concept of a pergola, right? So you have like a lattice or a pergola, right? Where you have some level of a barrier, but you have holes and you have areas where the sun's still going to get through. So if you think of it like a lattice, and so the bulkier the fabric, the looser the weave, the more the more UV rays and sun rays that are going to get through. And then naturally, color and dyes play a role into sun protection as well. So the darker fabrics are inherently more sun protective, which they also can be warmer. However, when you have sun protective fabric, no matter the color, and this, I kind of challenge everyone to test this out on their own with what they have, because a question I get all the time is, I don't want to wear black in the summer, it'll be too hot. However, and that can be true, but what I've found and what we've done in just our overall testing is that no matter the color, if you have sun protective clothing on, you ultimately feel cooler because you're keeping more of those UV rays off of your skin, especially if it's a loose fitting garment, right? So you get some more airflow and you actually feel cooler regardless of the color. But I've done, through all of my fabric testing, I've done testing where I get a really high quality cotton shirting fabric, a woven fabric, and I look at it and it's so tightly knit and it's really expensive and it's gorgeous, and this has to be sun protective. It absolutely has to be. I can't see through it. It's the highest quality shirting, like cotton fabric I can find. And then I get it tested and it's a UPF of 1. And I go, how can that possibly be? And again, it comes down to the fibers themselves. So it's really important that we understand what fibers are being used in those individual fabrics, because a big piece of it too, we need that to hold up across the lifetime of the garment. So if it might be right when it's woven or it's knit, maybe it's sun protective right at that moment. But if you don't have the right blend of other fibers in there, those fibers can start to come apart. And maybe even after 4 or 5 washings, they're no longer sun protective. So we do add in spandex. We do add in things that are going to help retain the shape of the garment and the fabric so that we don't lose that sun protection.
Right. I think that's very important too. Because the longer you wear it, you're right, things can happen. But just the idea of wearing clothes and wearing stylish clothes instead of having to put on sunscreen all over your body. And I mean, we still recommend sunscreen, but
no, we always recommend sunscreen. But the reality is most of us, even myself included, we don't usually put on enough for it to be truly as effective as the label says. We don't usually put on enough. And let's be really honest, most of us do not reapply it every hour and a half to 2 hours.
Right. We might try.
Yeah, but we don't usually do that because it's not practical for life. So it's trying to find the right balance between, okay, we're going to have most of our body covered with sun protective clothing, and then saving smaller areas of the skin like arms and hands and face for using sunscreen because it's easier to reapply on those smaller areas.
Right, definitely. Well, that's the perfect intro to our next question too, because I want to talk to you about sun protection and different creams, because you're a huge advocate for clean skincare and sun protection, which we value a lot here at Puriya. It's the perfect combination. And you have this amazing background where you have all of this knowledge to really decipher and understand what's a good product, what you're putting on your body, and what you want to stay away from in that way. So tell us your knowledge on the chemicals to avoid and the importance of wearing sun protection.
Well, this is a great question. This is very timely because I'm sure a lot of people have seen the articles and stories that have been coming out lately about different tourist and vacation spots that are starting to ban sunscreens. I know that Hawaii and Key West have banned the sunscreens that harm the coral reefs. So, and I believe those regulations, I don't think they come into play until 2021. However, they are effectively being put into place right now, mainly just they're not being sold. They are, they're not really allowed to prohibit it, but they're definitely discouraging people from using certain components in sunscreens that harm the coral reef. So we'll go into a few of those. There's 2 in particular that we know have been banned in certain tourist locations. One is oxybenzone, and then the other is octinoxate. And those are commonly found in chemical sunscreens, so not in the mineral-based sunscreens, in the chemical sunscreens. Oxybenzone, less and less common for the last, I want to say 5-7 years or so. More and more studies have been coming out showing that oxybenzone does absorb through our skin and can mimic an estrogen hormone in our bodies. And so there's been a decent kind of push for sunscreen manufacturers to move away from that product. It's still out there. It definitely is still out there, but it's becoming less and less common. Octinoxate and avobenzone are 2 other products that are in the chemical sunscreens that are most likely. Avobenzone hasn't been banned yet, but it's probably the next on the list after these 2. And that sunscreen ban is only going to continue to increase over time as a lot of these tourist destinations, especially when it comes to coral reefs, but really just sea life and aquatic life in general, as they start to enact this, because we're seeing just the detrimental effects to the environment from these components. Not to mention just on our own bodies, right? I think there was a really big push, right? And there's a big push. It was probably about 5 or 6 years ago with Oxybenzone to remove that from the market. And because it mimics hormones in our bodies, we were most concerned about that product being put on children on a consistent basis, because we weren't really sure what those long-term effects would be. So those are the ones that have been in the news lately, and we've probably heard them or seen them in articles that are getting the most press. The other products that I try to stay away from as much as possible is nanoparticles. So anytime, and a lot of the sunscreens now, you'll see a little note on there that says non-nano. And so nanoparticles, all those is taking components down to a very, very tiny size. And the goal with that, the reason they even exist, was to create formulations that were more pleasant to apply to the skin. However, over time, we found, because those particles became so much smaller, that we are able to absorb them. We are finding them throughout the environment now as well. And we're not sure what those long-term effects are going to be. It could be that there isn't a huge negative impact, but because we don't know, I personally try to avoid them if possible. Okay. And then in general, which you can probably speak to too, I try to stay away from parabens, synthetic fragrances, a lot of the standard skincare products that, preservatives, other products. I kind of live by that rule that if you really can't pronounce it, you probably don't want to put it on your body.
Exactly.
Right?
Definitely.
So those are the ones that I try to stay away from. And really what ends up happening is a lot of those products are found in what is called chemical sunscreens versus mineral sunscreens. So our longest standing, most tried and tested and true mineral sunscreen is zinc oxide. We've been using it for decades and decades and decades. It's safe for the body, it's safe for the environment, and it provides the highest level of sun protection that's out there. Initially when we were using that decades and decades ago, everyone kind of remembers it as the big white line on their nose or on their cheeks, right? Sunscreen companies have come a really long way and be able to create zinc oxide formulations that are not just the big white stick. They're really pleasant to apply. So I always look for my sunscreens, I look for a zinc oxide mineral sunscreen, non-nano formulation, and then also avoiding the kind of any petrolatum or mineral oil deposits, because those don't really biodegrade in the environment. And then looking and just staying away from any parabens or synthetic fragrances. And the company that we work with SummerSkin is Supergoop. They are one that I use all the time, and they have both. They have mineral and they have chemical sunscreens that are out there. But from what I found, they are very focused on creating products that are as clean as they can get them to be. And they have a huge push right now of going almost purely 100% mineral sunscreens as well. They have a new product out right now that can be found on our website too. It's 100% mineral matte sunscreen. And I kid you not, I do not wear makeup at all anymore. That's all I put on in the morning is their mineral matte sunscreen. So for me, when it comes to that, there's always things to look for, to avoid, and components that you want to seek out, right? That you would like to include. But my response to everyone when they ask me for a recommendation for sunscreen, my response to everyone is, here are all the little components. This is all my recommendations. But honestly, at the end of the day, the best sunscreen is the one you're going to wear. 100%. The one you're going to wear. Because I can make all the recommendations all day long. If you don't like how it feels, you're not going to put it on. And that sunscreen is not doing you any good if you're not wearing it.
Yes, no, I completely agree. It's the consistency aspect for me too. That's always
you don't want to put toothpaste on your face. Some of them can be very thick and uncomfortable, right?
Or you put it on in the morning or something, but it's the commitment that I need to be better at too during the day. I admit
don't
that.
We all know? Yeah, the daily routine, absolutely.
Yeah, but I love SummerSkin just because it's such a brilliant idea, and not that many people completely know how important it is to what you put on your body too these days. Right. So,
I would say it's the piece of it too. I think people are still very limited to activity-specific sun protection, right? So, and that comes sunscreen and sun protective clothing. They really are still in this, I only need it while I'm on vacation, or I only need my sunscreen and sun protection if I'm out doing an activity like kayaking or biking or hiking. And that's wonderful. Absolutely keep doing that, right? If you're outside, you want to make sure you're practicing sun protection too. But it's the incidental, just kind of activities of daily living that we forget about it. So walking to and from the car, walking up and down the street if you're shopping, or having lunch outside, or things that you might not think you're getting much exposure. But really, at the end of the day, that's where we're getting most of our exposure that accumulates over our lifetime, because we spend most of our time doing our day-to-day activities, not necessarily on vacation. Right. I would love to live on vacation all the time, but I don't.
Would we all?
Exactly.
So here's a quick question for you too. Besides wearing sunscreen and clothing for skin protection, what other lifestyle practices would you advise our viewers to protect their skin? Since you've been so focused on it for many years now, I bet you have a lot of tips and ideas on this too.
Yeah. So there's the sunscreen, sun protective clothing. There's also the standard, make sure you seek shade at peak hours, right? So if you can, try to not have extended exposure to the sun between 10 and 4 p.m. I love this one. It's very accurate. That's the peak hours. It's also right in the middle of the day when everyone wants to do all the things outside. So I think we say this all the time, is try to avoid exposure during those hours. We also know that might not be completely practical. So that's where sunscreen and sun protective clothing comes in, and just awareness overall. I think the big lifestyle change for me and for my daughter and my husband was really just to say, okay, how do I make this part of my daily routine? How do I make a lifestyle switch where I'm aware of sun protection, and that I make it part of not only my morning routine, but then throughout the day. And it's a concerted effort, right? You've got to think about it just the same way you think about brushing your teeth or taking a shower. Like, it has to become part of that routine. And then you do think about it all the time. It's easier said than done. I obviously have a very focused effort on it. Not only am I a melanoma survivor, but I have a sun protective clothing company. So it's in my life every day, whether I want it to be or not. So there's that piece. The other thing that I do too, and it's easy to do easier to do in the summertime, at least here in the Northwest, is added antioxidants to my diet. So I have an obsession with blueberries, like an absolute obsession.
I do too.
Thank you. Yeah, I have to like monitor and like measure out my blueberry intake in the summer. But it's things like that of really focusing on whole foods, clean foods that add the antioxidants and nutrients to our diets, because that's going to inherently provide more protection within our skin as well. The other piece of it is when it comes to skin cancers and aging, the signs of aging as well, the most important piece we have is prevention and early detection. So for me, it's, yes, there's the prevention piece that has the sunscreen and the sun protective clothing and all of those components. That's really focusing on the prevention piece, the awareness. But for the early detection piece for skin cancers is one of the most important aspects we can find, because especially when it comes to melanoma, if we catch it early in its earliest stage, it's 99 to almost 100% curable with surgery alone. However, the prognosis rapidly declines as that cancer spreads through the different layers of the skin. So it is one of those cancers that we can, just with lifestyle modification, prevent the vast majority of. So the early detection is so important. And the best way to do that is monthly skin checks. Just get to know your skin, say hello, and do your monthly skin checks and see if you find anything changing. You know your skin better than anyone else, even your doctors. You're going to notice first if something's changing or new or different. And so for me, I obviously do that. And I actually, ironically, just had 2 excisions done earlier today. So it's very timely that we're having this interview.
Yes.
Because it is something for me where I focus on making sure that I am aware of my body and if anything's changing. There's the classic kind of ABCDEs of melanoma and of skin cancer, which I would love, we don't have time to go through, but have everybody read into and know. But the most important thing I tell everybody is just be aware if something's changing on your body.
Right.
And that's a big one. This little tiny one that I had on my hand taken off today, it was teeny tiny, like I just got a little mark from a pen, but it's brand new. It showed up only about 3 months ago and is on the palm of my hand. So for me, I don't know, it might come back totally fine. But for me, that is new and that is different. And you shouldn't have moles on the palm of your hand. So I had to take that off, right? So that's the big thing from a lifestyle perspective, is there's those two buckets where you have prevention and you have early detection. So if something's new, you just get in there and keep your annual appointments either with your primary healthcare provider or your dermatologist if you have one. And if anything looks new or crazy, go in and get it checked out. And I live by that motto: when in doubt, cut it out. Because you just don't want something sitting longer than it has to.
Right. Especially when prevention, you can do so much at that phase where there's so much opportunity if you catch it early.
Absolutely. Well, and on top of that too, there's skin cancer, but then on the aging front, 90% of all the signs of aging is due to sun exposure. 90%. So when we're at conferences and trade shows and all that, we always like to, when appropriate, like to make the joke that we're cheaper than Botox, because 90% of the signs of aging truly are due to sun exposure and preventable, right? So you can see those pictures of celebrities all the time where they're out with their parasols or they're standing under a tree because they know the value of what that means to having all that excess sun exposure. Right.
I know it's just the aging part alone. It's crazy how much it's just related to being outside and in the sun.
Exactly.
There's so much we can do with that.
So much, but at the same time too, the SummerSkin really exists because I don't ever want to tell anyone that they can't go outside. I don't ever want anyone to think that they have to avoid the sun and they can't go outside. It's a matter of just finding the right products that you love so that you can live outside, but live outside safely.
Exactly. Here at Puriya too, our whole goal is to get people outside, to be one with nature. Yes. But to do it in a healthy way and to know, to know that balance too.
Exactly. The last thing we want to give is this impression that the sun is awful and you can't go outside and you have to avoid it. No, absolutely not. Being in the sun is one of my absolute favorite things. Is it a little scarier now for me because I've had my diagnosis? Yes, it is a little scarier, which is sad. But at the same time, that's not going to stop me. I'm still going to go outside. I'm going to still live my life. I just have to take a little extra precaution.
Right. And we're meant to be outside. We're not meant to be inside all the time. It's therapy. So
yes, exactly.
I'll ask you one last question, and this will be great for our viewers too. Tell us more about the clothing line you have and what you have inside of it. And also the hat I have from your clothing line a while ago is still my all-time favorite hat. Like I wear it to the beach and everywhere, and it's perfect. So tell our viewers more about all the range of things you're offering too.
So I will say we're probably a little low on stock at the moment because it's July and that happens to us. But we do know two of our best-selling products that we have are our Endless Summer Wrap and our Dolman Tops. And mainly because those are two products that are super easy to grab or have in your bag and just take with you throughout your day, wherever you're going to go. And we're really happy to say that we have a restock coming in probably next week. So we need everyone to sign up for the newsletter if they want an announcement, because I know we've been getting a lot of emails why we're out of stock in our Endless Wraps. So, but we do focus, at least for my intention in the beginning and now to this day, is to create easy pieces that fit into your wardrobe, your existing wardrobe. So we do a lot of solid colors and stripes that can incorporate into your own personal style, whatever that may be. And so we do maxi dresses, midi dresses, skirts, tops. We have wraps and hats and sunscreen and sunglasses. And we're trying to have the range of products available that you can have a bag set. You can have your SummerSkin all packed in a bag. So if you're spending the time outside, you can just grab that bag and you're going to have everything you need in it. And you can just hit the town. And so for us, that's a big focus is to have that. Right now, we do only have women's. And I know that I've had a lot of comments that men feel left out. And that was not my intention. I just know how to design women's clothing better than men's clothing. So we are looking to expand. And a big focus for us too is that we're very mission driven. So our mission for our company is that we're increasing access to sun protective clothing and increasing awareness to the importance of sun safety. So everything that we do is very intentional, and we're a small company. So when you see that we're sold out of something, or, you know, if you see that we haven't had a style in a while, we welcome that. We want to hear, like, if you want to see something come back, just send us an email, send us a note, and or ideas. We love ideas. So if you have something, a specific style that you've been searching for in the market and you haven't been able to find that's sun protective or that would just make your life easier, we want to hear about it, because that's something for us. We can be a little flexible, right, with the styles that we create. We also try to partner with nonprofits as well, so that we can increase access to that information and education piece. So our website is yoursummerskin.com, which is very intentional, because my SummerSkin is my skin. So the whole website is for you. It's yoursummerskin.com. And yeah, which is our main source. And you can also contact us through the website as well. So we'll get back to you as soon as we possibly can.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. You've educated us on so many things, from fabrics and weaves and colors and what can help in the sun and what can't, and what products to use. So you've been amazing and helpful, and our viewers can find you at yoursummerskin.com too.
Absolutely.
And check out the current collection, which is the perfect time too.
And the restock here coming in. Awesome. This was so great. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about this topic. It's so near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, you know, I've learned a lot just talking to you about it even more. So thank you. To have an amazing day, and we will connect soon, I'm sure.
Okay. Yes, we will.
Thank you so much, Summer.
Bye.
Bye.